Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let us chant one round of japa with Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता एज इट इज की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam for all session. Let us recite Bhagavad Gita shloka. We are reciting from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 14, text 27. Does anyone need to go first? So we'll just go in alphabetical order. Aditya Lata Mataji and Arunita.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Pratishtaham. Pratishtaham.
Pratishtaham
Amritasya vyayasya cha.
Amritasya vyayasya cha.
Shashvatasya cha dharmasya.
Sukhasya cha. Translation. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Aditya Lata.
Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances of pledge to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya
Amritasya vyayasya cha.
Amritasya bhayasya cha sashvatasya cha dharmasya
Sukhasya ikantikasya cha.
And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Achut Priya Arundhati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji,
Dandavat Pranam Mataji, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Brahmano hi pratishtapam amritasya vyayasya cha sasvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ekanikasya cha. Translation of and I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and in the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Inba Inia, Jai Shri Mataji and Jai Ganesh.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Brahmano hi pratisthaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasaikantikasya cha. Translation. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional possession of ultimate happiness.
Inia.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ekantikasya cha. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Brahmano hi pratisthaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ekantikasya cha. Translation. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha sashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya cha. Translation based on the Sisipati and Srila Prabhupada. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Thank you.
Thank you. Krishna Shish.
Brahman
Madhava. Rasapriya. Usha Mataji and Medha.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Brahmano hi pratistaham amritasya avyascha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukashya kantiskasya cha. Translation. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Medha is not here.
Okay. Priyanka Haripriya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya kantikasya cha. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness.
Pragya.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Brahmano hi pratistaham amritasya vyasya cha sasvatasya cha dharmasya sukasya kantikasya cha. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Hare Krishna.
Saujanya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees.
Dandavat Pranam Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Brahmano hi pratistaham amritasya avyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhashay
Sukasya Aikantikasya cha.
Sukhasya Aikantikasya cha. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Isha.
Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ekantikasya cha. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness.
Did anyone not recite yet? I'll recite. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 14, text 27. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ekantikasya cha. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Let's read Srimad Bhagavatam. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 1. The Advent of Lord Krishna, the introduction. So we saw that Vasudeva decided after much contemplation, when he saw that the other approaches were not going to work for Kamsa, because he's of Asurik Pravritti, he is a follower of the Rakshasas. So then Vasudeva decided that his immediate problem is to save Devaki's life. So he will think about the children when they're born. So for now, in order to save Devaki, he was going to offer all the children born of Devaki to Kamsa. He was going to make that offer to Kamsa, make a proposal, so that Kamsa will desist from killing Devaki. So then, although he was tormented, right? He was in great anxiety for his wife's life, but externally he put up a smile and he began to speak to Kamsa. Let's see what Vasudevji said. Whose turn is it today? Is it Usha Mataji's turn? Did Rasapriya read yesterday?
Yes,
I
Mataji.
think yes,
Rasapriya
Mataji.
and
Yes.
She was the
Solita.
last? Huh?
Yes.
Nilambari Mataji, I think, read.
She also read?
Yes.
I
So-
also read Mataji actually. Yesterday I read.
You also read. So Priyanka Haripriya Mataji, is it your turn then?
Yes, Mataji. Nilambari Mataji read the purport last, I think.
Okay. Sri Vasudeva Uvacha Nahyasyaste Bhayam Saumya Yadvai Saha Shariravaak Putran Samarpayishyesya Yataste Bhayamuttitam.
Nilambari Mataji didn't read, I think. Is she here? She is not here today, right?
She's
She
not
didn't
here,
read
so-
actually, yeah. I think Usha Mataji read only, yeah.
Okay.
I was not sure actually, yeah. So Vasudev said, O best of the sober, you have nothing to fear from your sister Devaki, because of what you have heard from the unseen omen. The cause of death will be her sons. Therefore, I promise that when she gives birth to the sons from whom your fear has arisen, I shall deliver them all unto your hands.
Yes. Purport? Prajna? Or Saujanya Mataji? Whoever's ready.
I will read, Mataji.
Yeah.
Krishna
Kamsa.
Kamsa feared Devaki's existence because after her 8th pregnancy, she would give birth to a son who would kill him. Vasudeva, Vasudeva, therefore, to assure his brother-in-law the utmost safety, promised to bring him all the sons. He would not wait for the 8th son, but from the very beginning would deliver to the hands of Kamsa all the sons to which Devaki would give birth. This was the most liberal proposition offered by Vasudeva to Kamsa.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. So Vasudev begins to speak to Kamsa. What did Vasudev say? Oh, best of the sober. Again, you have to flatter people who are proud, right? So Vasudev is saying, oh, best of the sober. Not that he is sober, but he's best amongst all the sober people. Like Dhira, right? Dhira statra na muhyati. So, best of the sober. You have nothing to fear from your sister Devaki because of what you have heard from the unseen omen. So, you want to kill Devaki. Why? Because this Akashwani said that Devaki's 8th child is going to kill you. So, therefore, you want to kill Devaki. But It is her child that is going to kill you. Devaki is not going to kill you. According to the omen, the unseen omen, it is her 8th child that is going to kill you. The cause of your death is her sons, 8 or children, one of her children. Therefore, I promise that when she gives birth to the sons from whom your fear has arisen, I shall deliver them all unto your hands. So, not just the 8th child, I'm going to give you all the children. So, which is better? You are killing Devaki, or you are getting all sons from whom you have fear, right? So he would not wait for the 8th son, but from the very beginning, from the first son on, he would give to Kamsa. Why Vasudevji said this? Again, because to make a, like a liberal proposition, like, when you give donation, when someone gives with a free hand, right? Like that. Not okay, you have fear from 8th son, but I'm going to give you all the sons born of Devaki. What else do you want? Right? So you may think, oh, maybe the number is changed sometimes this way, that way. I'm going to give you all the sons. What else would you like? So this is the most liberal proposition that anyone could make. So Vasudeva was saying, so don't kill Devaki, because anyway you have no fear from Devaki. Your fear is from her 8th son, 8th child. I'm going to give you all the children. Why just the 8th child? Sri Shuka Uvacha Swasurvadhannivavrite Kamsastadvakya Saravit Vasudevopi tam Pritah Rashasya Pravishad Griham. Achyut Priya Mataji.
Srila Sukadev Goswami continued. Kamsa agreed to the logical arguments of Vasudeva, and having full faith in Vasudeva's words, he refrained from killing his sister Vasudeva. Being pleased with Kamsa, pacified him further and entered his own house. Thank you, Krishna.
Arunita or Aditi Lata Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Although Kamsa was a sinful demon, he believed that Vasudev would never deviate from his word. The character of a pure devotee like Vasudev is such that even so great a demon as Kamsa firmly believed in his words and was satisfied. Yayasti bhaktir.
Yes, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvair gunais tatra samasa tesura.
Bhagavad Gita 5.18.12.
Bhagavatam.
Bhagavatam at 5.18.12. All good attributes are present in a devotee, so much so that even Kamsa believed in Vasudev's words without a doubt.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you. So Vasudeva offered to give all the children to Kamsa. So in exchange, don't kill Devaki now, let her live. Srila Sukadeva Goswami continued, Kamsa agreed. When Vasudeva made this proposal, Kamsa agreed to the logical arguments of Vasudeva. And having full faith in Vasudeva's words, he refrained from killing his sister. Why Kamsa agreed to Vasudeva? Vasudeva was known for his word of honor. See, this is the greatness of devotees. Again, we see this in the character of devotees. Dhira dhira janapriyakaro nirmatsarau pujitau. Right? About the 6 Goswamis, it is said, Dhira dhira janapriyakaro. Dhira and adhira. Both those who are sober, those who are devotees or pious, as well as the ruffians or the wicked people. They are loved by both types of people. Also, we read earlier, well, I forget where I read this. If it is in the yeah, I think this is about. I think this is about. 1 second. There we read about the residents of Vaikuntha. They are loved both by devotees and non-devotees. They are worshipped. They are worshipped by both devotees and non-devotees. I think this comes, yeah, this comes in second canto, 9th chapter. I think, yes, second canto, 9th chapter. It comes that there's a description of Vaikunthas, isn't it? There it is said. So there it is said that the residents of Vaikuntha are worshipped both by devotees and non-devotees, even non-devotees. The point is, devotees, their character is so pure. Everybody knows that even those who are wicked, they know that devotees are truthful, right? They don't doubt the character of devotees. That's the point. So Kamsa was a follower of Rakshasas, but he also trusted Vasudev's words. Vasudev could not go back on his word. It's such a big thing, right? A father promising to give his own sons to be slaughtered. It is so easy to go back on your word, isn't it? Just to get away from that situation, you can tell a lie. But Kamsa trusted. Why he trusted? Because Vasudev is a pure devotee. Vasudev is known for his word of honor. So Kamsa agreed. So that's the point we should see here, that even such a wicked person as Kamsa trusted Vasudev's words. The character of a pure devotee like Vasudev is such that even so great a demon as Kamsa firmly believed in his words. He believed and he was satisfied by the proposal. So then he let go of Devaki, and then Vasudeva was also pleased with Kamsa's decision, and he pacified him further. I think he thanked him and he praised his decision, right? And then he entered his own house. He took Devaki and he entered his own house. Next. Athakala upavritte devaki sarvadevata putran prasushuve chashtau kanyam chaivanuvatsaram.
Mataji, Pragna is here if you're okay for her to
Yes,
say
yes,
it.
yes. Okay. Translation.
Each year thereafter, in due course of time, Devaki, the mother of God, and all the demigods gave birth to a child. Thus she bore 8 sons, one after another, and a daughter named Subhadra. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, yeah, purport Aditi Lata Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. The spiritual master is sometimes glorified as Sarva Deva Mayo Guru. Bhagavatam 11:17-27. By the grace of the Guru, by the grace of the Guru, the spiritual master, one can understand the different kinds of devas. The word deva refers to God, the supreme personality of Godhead, who is the original source of all the demigods, who are also called devas. In Bhagavad Gita 10.2, the Lord says, Aham Adir Ki Devanam. I am the source of all the devas. The Supreme Lord Vishnu, the original person, expands in different forms. Tad Aikshata Bahushyam. Chandogya Upanishad 6.2.3. He alone has expanded into many. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam. Brahma Samhita 5.33. There are different grades of forms known as Swamsa and Vivinnamsa. The Swamsa expansion or Vishnu Tattva are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the Vivinnamsha are Jiva Tattva, who are part and parcel of the Lord. Mama Ivamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. If we accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship him, All the parts and expansion of the Lord are automatically worshipped. Sarvarhanam Achyutejya. Bhagavatam 4.31.14. Krishna is known as Achyuta. Shenayor Ubhayor Madhye Ratham Sthapaya Me Achyuta. By worshipping Achyuta, Krishna, one automatically worships all the demigods. There is no need of separately worshipping either the Vishnu Tattva or Jiva Tattva. If one concentrates upon Krishna, one worships everyone. Therefore, because Mother Devaki gave birth to Krishna, she is described here as Sarva Devata. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So, Vasudev returned home with Devaki, and then after 1 year, Devaki gave birth to a son. And of course, in the next 8 years, after each year, she was giving birth to a child. Okay, so each year thereafter, in due course of time, Devaki, the mother of God and all the demigods. So here the important point is Devaki. Who is Devaki? She is the mother of God and all the demigods. Okay, that's the important point. Devaki, who is the mother of God and all the demigods, gave birth to a child. So each year she gave birth to one child. Thus she bore 8 sons, one after another, and a daughter named Subhadra. Okay, so Devaki had 8 sons and one daughter. Devaki Sarva Devata. Okay, so Devaki Sarva Devata. That means she is the mother of all gods and God himself. And she gave birth to one child each year for the next 8 years. And then she also had a daughter named Subhadra. So Devaki is called Sarva Devata, right? She is called Devaki Sarva Devata. Yeah, right? She is described as Sarva Devata. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada is saying that the spiritual master also is sometimes known as Sarva Deva Mayo Guruhu. Sarva Deva Mayo Guruhu. That means, again, Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasada. Yasya Aprasadan Nagati Kutopi. If you satisfy Guru, then Krishna is satisfied. Bhagavan is satisfied. If you satisfy Guru, Krishna is satisfied. If you displease Guru, then you can never please Krishna. By displeasing Guru, you can never please Krishna. Also, Sakshad Haritvena Samasta Shastrair. Sakshad Haritvena Samasta Shastrair. Uktastatha Bhavyataiva Sadhi. Yeah, all the Shastras are loudly proclaiming that Guru is like the Guru should be worshipped exactly like one worships the Supreme Lord. That means if you worship Guru, whatever you are worshipping to Guru, it is being offered to the Supreme Lord. If you are worshipping Guru, all your offerings that you are making to Guru, they are directly going to Krishna, to the Supreme Lord. Who is saying this? Samasta Shastra, all the Shastras are saying this. That by worshipping Guru, that worship is going to the Supreme Lord. And also, Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasado, Yasya Aprasadan Nagati Kutopi. If you please your Guru, then Krishna is pleased. But if you displease your Guru, there is no way you can please Krishna. So what do we understand by this? So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, Sarva Deva Mayo Guruhu. Sarva Deva Mayo Guruhu. That means if by serving Guru, all the devas, all devatas, they are also served. How is that? How is it that by serving Guru, all the devatas are served? Also here Srila Prabhupada is quoting from the 11th canto. By the grace of the Guru, the spiritual master, one can understand the different kinds of devas. Acharyam mam vijaniyan navamanyeta karhichit namartya buddhyasuyeta sarvadeva mayo guru. Sarvadeva mayo guru. Right? Sarvadeva means all demigods. Mayaha, representative. Guru is the representative of all the demigods. So one should know the Acharya as myself, right? The Acharya is myself, and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary person, for he is the representative of all the demigods. He is the representative of all the demigods. Because who are all the demigods? All the demigods are the limbs of the Supreme Lord. Yes? They are actually the vibhutis of the Supreme Lord. So, and by worshipping Guru, you're worshipping Krishna. And Krishna, when you worship Krishna, he is the root. When you water the root, the whole tree is satisfied. So in the tree are all the different demigods. Everyone is satisfied. All the demigods are satisfied. All living entities are satisfied. Everything is satisfied. Everyone is satisfied when you please Krishna. And the way to please Krishna is by serving the spiritual master. So therefore, Sarva Deva Mayo Guruhu means by the grace of the spiritual master, you can understand all the demigods and you can please all the demigods. They are pleased. When you serve the spiritual master, all the demigods are pleased. So why we are discussing this? Because Devaki is called Sarva Devata. That means Devaki is the mother of all the demigods. Why she is the mother of all the demigods in the same way? Because she is the mother of the Supreme Lord, and everything is coming from the Supreme Lord. All the demigods are the vibhuti of the Supreme Lord. They are in the Supreme Lord, right? They are his energy, his Shakti. So when Devaki is the mother of the Supreme Lord, automatically she becomes the mother of the whole universe, which includes all the demigods. That's why she is Sarva Devata. By the grace, okay, once again, Sarva Deva Mayo Guru, by the grace of Guru, one can understand all the Devas. And here, Deva refers to not just the demigods. Deva means the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord who is the source of all demigods. Okay? Deva means Sarva Devata, or here Sarva Deva Mayo Guru, Sarva Deva. Deva means the Supreme Lord is the source of all demigods. Aham Adirhi Devanam, Bhagavad Gita 10:2, Krishna says, I am the source of all the devas. So this is your proof, reference, that Krishna is the source of all demigods. Krishna, from Krishna's own mouth, from his own words. Aham Adirhi Devanam, I am the source of all the devas. Tadaikshata Bahushyama. This is Chandogya Upanishad. He alone expanded into many. So originally there is only the Supreme Lord, and then he expanded into many. That means everyone, including all the demigods, they are coming from the Supreme Lord. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam. There are different grades of forms known as Swamsha and Vibhinnamsha, expansions of the Lord, right? So Swamsha means his personal expansions. Vibhinnamsha means his parts and parcels, separated expansions. Swamsha expansions are Vishnu Tattva. Vibhinnamsha means Jiva Tattva. Again, in Jiva Tattva, you have the Shaktyavesha avatars, and also you have the Vibhutis, right? So Shaktyavesha avatar means they have a living entity who is working exactly like the Supreme Lord, because he is invested with the power, with the Shakti of the Supreme Lord. So it's the living entity is acting like this, with the power of the Supreme Lord. But it's not like that living entity has all the powers of the Supreme Lord in a particular field. Like the 4 Kumaras, they are also Shakti-Avesh avatars. When you see the list of the incarnations of the Supreme Lord, the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto, there you will see the Kumaras are also called an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So they are actually Jiva Tattva, living entities, but they are invested with the potency of the Supreme Lord. What type of potency? Jnana Shakti, like that. So similarly, Narad Muni is also called an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So Narad Muni is also a living entity, Jiva Tattva, but he is infused with Bhakti Shakti of the Supreme Lord. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj is also a living entity, but he is invested with what? With Palana Shakti, right? Rulership, Palana Shakti, like this. So this is Vibhinnamsha. Vibhinnamsha means he is a Jiva Tattva, but he is invested with the power. So that would be Shakti-Avesha avatar. But then there's something called Vibhuti. Vibhuti is also the potency of the Supreme Lord, but the percentage is small. That's the difference between Vibhuti and Shakti-Avesh avatar. The difference is Shakti-Avesh avatar has a greater percentage of the Lord's potency, whereas Vibhuti has a small percentage. Nevertheless, that's why you see in the 10th chapter, Krishna says, amongst all elephants, I am Airavata. Amongst all beasts, I am the lion. So they are all Vibhutis of the Lord. Vibhuti, opulence of the Lord. Right? That means there is that potency of the Lord, right? That is Vibhuti. So, the demigods are all Vibhutis of the Supreme Lord. They are Jiva Tattva, but they have this potency, extraordinary power. Nevertheless, they are Jiva Tattva. But everything is coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, if Devaki is the mother of the Supreme Lord, then she is the mother of everyone, all the Jiva Tattvas in everyone, isn't it? Like that. So, if we accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship Him, all the parts and expansions of the Lord are automatically worshipped, isn't it? Yeah? If you offer me a nice, you offer me a laddu, okay, then that nourishment automatically goes to all parts of my body. My hands, legs, my head, everything receives nourishment from that. You don't have to separately give to my hands, like that. It's put in the mouth, then the whole body receives. So we see that the various demigods, they are the different limbs of the universal form. We see that, right? So that way, if you satisfy the Supreme Lord, then all the limbs are satisfied. If you are worshipping, if you are accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and you are making offerings to Him, then those offerings are automatically received by all the demigods. By offering to Krishna, you are worshipping all the demigods. You don't have to separately worship the demigods. So here, therefore, so the important word here is Sarva Devata. So what is being said by Sukadev Goswami? That Devaki gave birth to a child each year for the next 8 years. She gave birth to 8 sons and 1 daughter, Subhadra. Next. So, Inba. Kirtimantam prathamajam kamsayanakadundubihi arpayamasa krichrena sonritad ativihvalaha.
Vasudeva was very much disturbed by fear of becoming a liar by breaking his promise. Thus, with great pain, he delivered his firstborn son, named Kirtiman, into the hands of Kamsa.
Thank you. In by Nia Mataji, any purport?
Yes, Mataji. In the Vedic system, as soon as a child is born, especially a male child, the father calls for learned brahmanas, and according to the description of the child's horoscope, the child is immediately given a name. This ceremony is called Namakarana. There are 10 different samskaras or reformatory methods adopted in the system of Varnashrama Dharma, and the name giving ceremony is one of them. Although Vasudeva's first son was to be delivered into the hands of Kamsa, the Namakarana ceremony was performed, and thus the child was named Kirtiman. Such names are given immediately after birth.
So, we heard that Devaki gave birth to one son each year. So, the first son was born. Vasudeva was very much disturbed by fear of becoming a liar by breaking his promise. So, Vasudeva promised to Kamsa that he will give all the children born of Devaki to Kamsa. And here is the firstborn child. You know, how much a father is attached to his son. What to speak of the firstborn, right? Is very much attached. But and this is like a newborn, just born. But Vasudeva, because of fear of becoming a liar, right? So he would never go back on his word. So therefore, he delivered again, just like in a couple of verses before we saw. It was such a difficult situation, still he was smiling when he was speaking to Kamsa. Here also, he knows that the child is going to be killed by Kamsa. Still, he's delivering the child. So this is integrity. Integrity. That means whether there is pain or happiness, one does his duty regardless, right? So Vasudeva promised to give the child, so he's delivering that child to Kamsa, although it is very, very painful to him. Tolerating that pain just because he didn't want to go back on his dharma, right? He promised, he cannot go back on his promise. So with great pain in his heart, he delivered his firstborn son. And another important point is the child was born, and as soon as the child was born, they did the name giving, right? The father named the child Kirtiman, right? Like one who will become very famous, Kirtiman, right? He named him. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining the significance of the samskaras in the varnashram system. There are different samskaras. Sometimes it is said 10 samskaras, sometimes it is said 16 samskaras. Nevertheless, samskaras are important in the Vedic society. Samskaras are karma. You have nitya karma, naimittika karma, prayaschitta kamya karma, prayaschitta karma, nishiddha karma. 5 types of karma. So samskaras come under naimittika karma, like vivaha samskara, namakarana samskara, garbhadhan samskara, like that. Right from birth, even before birth, from conception all the way up to giving up the body, right? There are samskaras. What is the importance of samskaras? Samskaras purify the living entity. And of course, for Brahmanas, there are more samskaras, right? For Shudras, not as many samskaras. The only samskara actually for Shudras is the marriage samskara. That's all. The others are not so important. But for Brahmanas, there are many samskaras because they are advanced, right? And when they are purified, then they are the leaders. They are the leaders of society. They're supposed to lead others. So there are more samskaras for the Brahmanas. What is the importance of samskaras? Janmana jayate shudra, samskarat bhavet dvijah. By birth, everyone is born a shudra. But because of samskaras, they can be turned into dvija. Dvija means twice born. Shudras are not twice born. They don't get the second birth. But the other three varnas, they are called twice born. They have these samskaras. By samskaras, they can become twice born. Why one has to become twice born? For spiritual progress. For spiritual progress. When you by samskaras, when you are purified, then you can approach a spiritual master. And again, there also, when you approach a spiritual master, you have Upanayana samskara. After that samskara, Dvijatvam is given, and then you are imparted Vedic education, Vedic knowledge, right? And by that Vedic knowledge, you'll become a Vipra, a person who is learned in the Vedas. What is the purpose of becoming learned in the Vedas? You'll become a Brahmana by that. By understanding the Vedas, you can become a Brahmana. What is that? Brahma janati iti Brahmana. That means you now come from the lower modes. Janmana jayate Shudra. Shudras are in which mode? Which mode are Shudras in? Goodness, passion, or ignorance? Passion.
Ignorance. Ignorance.
Ignorance. Shudras are the lowest. Kshatriyas are in passion. Vaishyas are in mixed passion and ignorance. Shudras are in ignorance. So it is said, Janmana jayate Shudra. Everyone by birth is in ignorance. But by samskaras, they can be elevated from ignorance to higher and higher modes. They can be brought to the mode of goodness by samskaras. So when you come to mode of goodness, what happens? Sattvat sanjayate jnanam. In the mode of goodness, you get knowledge. What is that knowledge? That I am not this body, I am actually a spirit soul. Someone who realizes that he's not this body, but he's a spirit soul, he's called a Brahmana. That means by samskaras, one is elevated from the mode of ignorance to the mode of goodness, where you understand you are not this body, but you're a spirit soul. But from there, the postgraduate stage of Brahmana is a Vaishnava. To realize that Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. I am a spirit soul, but who is a spirit soul? What are his duties? And what is he supposed to do? Then when you understand, when you say who is a spirit soul, then the next thing is you're a part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit. Then what is the relationship? He is the master and we are the servants. Like that. So that is higher. When you come to the Vaishnava's position, then you engage in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what do you understand by this? The whole Vedic society, the whole Varnashram system is designed to bring everyone to the platform of a Vaishnava, gradually, step by step. That is the highest. When you send your children to school, first you put them in kindergarten. When you're in kindergarten, you don't see that they're already, they know the subjects of post-graduation. But if they, step by step, if they continue studying, right, each year you see, they're actually going one grade ahead. And before you know, they're like in high school, and then they're in college, and then they can be postgraduates. Like that. So this is the Vedic system, step by step, gradually elevating. So for this, the samskaras are very helpful. They're very helpful in purifying, bringing, uplifting the living entities, conditioned souls from the lower modes to higher modes. Therefore, the samskaras are very, very important in Vedic society. So Srila Prabhupada is saying in the Vedic society, as soon as a child is born, especially a male child, the father calls for learned brahmanas, and according to the description of the child's horoscope, the child is immediately given a name. We see this in the case of Krishna's appearance and also Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. Right? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is the need for him to go through all these samskaras and all that? But they do it, right? Yadyad acharati shreshtas tattad evetaro jana. Whatever great personalities do, common men follow. Then Krishna says, Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanavaptam avaptavyam patta evacha karmani. That means I don't have any duties to do in this world. Still I do. Why I do? Because whatever I do, everyone will follow. It is my responsibility. So that's why I also do. So by his own example, the Lord is showing that these samskaras are important. So you see, there is, they do the horoscope, and then there is name giving ceremony. Of course, for Krishna, they did it in a very simple way in the cow shed in Goshala. They did it secretly, but nevertheless, it was done. So the name giving ceremony is done. The father calls for learned brahmanas, and according to the description of the child's horoscope, the name is also not given randomly. Name is given by first studying the horoscope, what is his nature, and also what will be his future activities. Based on that, the name is given, right? The child is immediately given a name. So this ceremony is called Namkarana ceremony. Sometimes it takes a few days after birth. Sometimes it's done immediately. But in the case of Vasudev's first child, there was not much time. As soon as the child is born, Kamsa would get news, right? So immediately, as soon as the child was born, he did this and gave the name also. What name was that? Kirtiman. Kirtiman. So Srila Prabhupada is saying such names are given immediately after birth. Okay. Next verse. Well, maybe we will stop here and continue tomorrow. Inba read, right? So tomorrow Inya will read. Let's read Bhagavad Gita and Leelamrita so that we'll finish on time. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, text 29. Please repeat. Ascharyavat pashyati kashchidenam. Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyah. Ascharyavat shrinoti. Shrutvaapyenam veda na chaiva kaschit. Some look on the soul as amazing. Some describe him as amazing. And some hear of him as amazing. While others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. Yes. So this is, so far Krishna has been explaining to Arjun the difference between the soul and the body. The soul is eternal and the body is temporary. In various ways, Krishna makes this point, how the soul has no death, it is eternal, whereas the body is temporary, it cannot live. So again, here Krishna is saying about this wonderful soul, which has so many qualities, right? Nobody is able to kill that soul. It is immeasurable, it is eternal, ever existing, and it is present everywhere, unchangeable, so on and so forth. It cannot be burned by fire, it cannot be cut by weapons. So such a soul, it's so amazing. It's nothing like anything we experience in this world. It's completely different. It is so amazing. So some people, they look on the soul as amazing. Some talk about this soul as amazing, describe this soul as amazing, and others hear about this soul as amazing. Whereas still others, although they hear all these wonderful things about the soul, cannot understand him at all. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Since Gita Upanishad is largely based on the principles of the Upanishads, it is not surprising to also find this passage in the Katha Upanishad 1 to 7. So we see several such verses, right, which are there in the Upanishads, and you also see in Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita is based on the principles of Upanishads. श्रवणयापि बहुभिर्यो न लभ्यः श्रवणयापि how does this go? श्रवणयापि बहुभिर्यो न लभ्यः शृण्वन्तोऽपि बहवोऽयं न विद्युः आश्चर्यो वक्ता कुशलोऽस्य लब्धा आश्चर्योऽस्य ज्ञाता कुशलानुशिष्टः. The fact that the atomic soul is within the body of a gigantic animal, like an elephant, same Atma, atomic soul. The fact that the atomic soul is within the body of a gigantic animal, in the body of a gigantic banyan tree, and also in the microbic germs, like viruses, also in the microbic germs, millions and billions of which occupy only an inch of space, is certainly very amazing. So what is this? What is the quality of this soul? It is so amazing that this soul, which is so small, it can move such a gigantic body as an elephant or a banyan tree, which produces unlimited fruits. And each fruit has thousands of banyan trees in it, so many small seeds. And all this is happening because of the presence of that small, minute soul in that big banyan tree. And at the same time, the same soul is also in small microbial, microorganisms like viruses, billions of which are present in one small space. How wonderful is this? How amazing is this? This is certainly very amazing. Men with a poor fund of knowledge and men who are not austere cannot understand the wonders of the individual atomic spark of spirit. Right? Those who are not austere cannot understand. You know why? When you perform austerities, what does it do to you? Like we had Nishinga Chaturdasi a couple of days ago. Full fast until dusk. No eating, drinking, nothing. And at dusk, you take only just Anukalpa Prasad. Anukalpa means what you take on Ekadasis, no grains. So it is fast, austerity. What happens when you perform austerity? Austerity brings you to the mode of goodness. And in the mode of goodness, what happens? You get knowledge. When you're in the mode of goodness, what are the symptoms of the mode of goodness? Knowledge and happiness, isn't it? So you get knowledge when you're in the mode of goodness. Therefore, austerities are good. When you perform austerities, you come to the mode of goodness. And in the mode of goodness, you're receptive to spiritual knowledge. So, those who are not austere, they cannot appreciate spiritual knowledge. Dull brains, they cannot understand. They cannot receive spiritual knowledge. So men with a poor fund of knowledge and men who are not austere cannot understand the wonders of the individual atomic spark of spirit, even though it is explained by the greatest authority of knowledge who imparted lessons even to Brahma. Who's speaking this? Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is being spoken by Krishna. But still, those who are not austere, they cannot understand. Even though Krishna himself is speaking, the greatest authority of knowledge is speaking, still they cannot understand. The greatest authority who imparted lessons even to Brahma, the first living being in the universe. Owing to a gross material conception of things, most men in this age cannot imagine how such a small particle can become both so great and so small. So men look at the soul proper as wonderful, either by constitution or by description. Illusioned by the material energy, people are so engrossed in subject matters for sense gratification that they have very little time to understand the question of self-understanding. Yes, we are filled with so much material. Even it's not just about material knowledge, but material knowledge geared towards what? Right? Material knowledge which is geared towards sense gratification. And we are filled up with that right from childhood. As a result, our brains become dull, right? They become dull to receive spiritual knowledge. They are not receptive to spiritual knowledge. We are fed with so much material knowledge which is geared towards sense gratification. Then we become dull and we are not receptive to spiritual knowledge. We cannot understand. The finer sentiments are lost. Owing to gross material conception of things. Gross material conception of things. Most men in this age, and Srila Prabhupada wrote this, it's only getting worse and worse as time is passing, isn't it? So most men in this age cannot imagine how such a small particle can become both so great and so small. Do you ever wonder about the soul? Do you ever wonder how amazing? Now we are reading Bhagavad Gita. We have been reading Bhagavad Gita for years now. Do you wonder?
I have a question about you whenever. So the question is, we understand that the soul is present, super soul is present even in the womb, right from the very beginning.
Yeah, of course.
So that means last time I think we discussed that from multiple sperm only one is fertilizing. So the other sperms, because the soul enters the father's body, right? And that's how it's transmigrated to woman's body. So the soul is in all the sperms, even which are not getting fertilized.
He's there in every atom, Mataji. Why only sperms?
Of course.
Yeah. So super soul is there yeah.
So so that means even in every seed, super soul is there, right?
Yes.
Like in a tree, like we see multiple seeds, right, in a fruit.
Yeah.
So in every seed.
Every seed, every atom. Yeah.
So what happens when the other seeds are not getting fertilized?
What happens when they're not getting fertilized? Then they're wasted, right? They go back into the ground, and then they come.
And the super soul goes away.
Super soul is there in everything, so he's there. he's there in earth, water, fire, air, ether. Everything is him only. It's all his energy. He's there in every atom and interatomic space. Brahma Samhita tells us that.
Even in the dead body?
Yeah, everywhere, even in this, everything. The super soul. We are sitting on super soul. We are breathing super soul is everywhere.
But I'm asking, of course, what you're saying is correct. But I'm asking about the super soul, which is for the super soul, we are conscious, we are active, we are working, right? So how can super soul be in the dead body? Because the dead body is inactive and it's lifeless because super soul left.
So how can we
No,
say
no, no.
the super?
Super soul left means the living entity leaves. The living entity leaves. And the living entity also cannot function without the super soul. That's there. But the super soul is there everywhere. And it's not like this was one super soul, that's a different super soul. Super soul is super soul. It's Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. Kshirodakashaya Vishnu is there everywhere. But specifically
Yes,
when Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, who's instructing, right, this particular soul, you're saying, he's there with that soul. So when the soul leaves, then the super soul is with the soul. Yeah, wherever the soul goes, the super soul is also there. The soul cannot exist without the super soul.
yeah, this has become a little bit confusing now, because now you're saying that super soul is also there in the dead body. Super soul cannot be there in the dead body, because that's what we have been reading. When super soul leaves the body becomes inactive. So that's how super soul's importance is. So how
The
can we
soul
say
leaves. When the soul leaves, then the body is inactive. Why the super soul will leave? The super soul is accompanying the soul.
Soul leaves because super soul leaves, right?
No,
That's what I was.
soul doesn't leave because super soul leaves. Soul leaves because that body is not fit to be living, fit to dwell in anymore. Therefore, the soul leaves. Soul is now moved out of that body. It cannot live in that body anymore. So therefore, the soul has to leave. So when the soul, yeah. See, super soul does not need anything. It's not that because the body is, unfit, so the super soul is leaving, therefore the soul. This body is not meant for the super soul. This body is made for the soul. But out of his kindness, the super soul follows the soul. He's there with the soul to remind him, right? And also, of course, he's the witness and he's the person who sanctions. The super soul is there who's witnessing and sanctioning. But the body is made for the soul according to his karma. And when that karma is finished, or now it's time for him to move on to the next body. When the body is his time in that body is finished, now he has to move on to the next body. So what happens to the super soul? The super soul is there everywhere. It's just like, remember that pastime in Uttara's womb. Parikshit Maharaj was there and Krishna is standing outside Uttara, and when Uttara prayed to Krishna, it's not like in front of everyone now Krishna enters into Uttara's womb. No. Krishna is standing in front of Uttara and he's already there everywhere. So he just manifests himself in Uttara's womb also, and he's going around with his, he has his Sudarshan chakra in his hand, and with his club he's just, going, protecting the womb. I am protecting the embryo in the womb. So he's there, but he becomes active in that situation according to need. Right? He active means he's actually reciprocating with that particular living entity in that particular circumstance. And when that need is not there to reciprocate with that living entity, he's still there as a super soul, but he's just like, we read about Paramatma, he's just observing, he's not acting, he's not eating or doing anything there on that tree. There's two birds. One bird is eating, but the other bird is simply sitting and watching. So Paramatma is there everywhere. He's just there. But when there is a need to interact or reciprocate with a particular living entity, then he manifests there, and he manifests means he's there, but he starts interacting. Does that make sense? Aditi Lata Mataji.
Oh, yes, Mataji, understood. Yes. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Saujanya Mataji. We still have to finish the purport. Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
I just wanted to say that, so without super soul, there's nothing existing. That's it.
Yeah,
Whether it is.
yeah. There's nothing existing.
Got it.
This is how the creation, see, when there is creation, super soul, there's three super souls. There's Karanodakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. Karanodakashaya Vishnu is the first. He is the super soul for the entire material creation. consisting of innumerable universes. The super soul for the entire creation, material creation, is Karanarnavashai Vishnu or Karanodakashai Vishnu. Then the super soul for one particular universe is Garbhodakashai Vishnu. This Garbhodakashai Vishnu expands into Kshirodakashai Vishnu, who enters each and every atom, every corner, and even interatomic space. That means he's there in every atom and between atoms also. So practically there's no space where Paramatma is not there. That is why this whole universe is sustained. Everyone is sustained because Paramatma is there. By his energy, everything is sustained. Otherwise, nothing would be sustained. Now, as far as with each individual living entity, he is reciprocating, he is the witness of what activities I have done. He's also, because he's there everywhere, but he's also there playing this role with each and every living entity. Like the judge, he's sitting there. He is the witness of all the activities we have done in the past. Someone may say, who knows, right? What is the proof that I did that? The proof is Paramatma. He is witnessing everything and he is with you constantly. So Paramatma is everywhere, and when he is everywhere, he is with you also specifically. This is the beauty of the Supreme Lord. That's why nobody can be like him. We can only think within our little box, right? When I'm talking to one person, I'm only talking to this person. I cannot talk to 10 different people individually at the same time, but he can do it with unlimited number of living entities individually, and at the same time he's there in every atom, he's maintaining everything, but also he's individually interacting with each and every living entity, not just human beings, viruses, everyone, and keeping track of everything that they did. This is Paramatma. That is why he is, super. I don't know what's the word to use, but he's super genius, something something which we cannot even imagine how wonderful he is. That's Paramatma. And this Paramatma is an expansion of the expansion of the expansion of the expansion of Krishna. You can imagine what's Krishna then.
And that is that Balaram's expansion?
Yes.
We can call the Balaram is the Paramatma?
No. Paramatma is Balaram's expansion, not direct also. So from Balaram you get Chaturvyuha, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. Then that Sankarshan expands as Narayan. Then Narayan expands into again Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. That Sankarshan expands as Mahasankarshan. That Mahasankarshan as Mahavishnu. Then Mahavishnu as Garbhodakashai Vishnu. That into Kshirodakashai Vishnu. So many expansions. So you won't call Balaram Paramatma, although there's nothing wrong in that. You can call Krishna also, but actually because everything is there in him, so it's just like, you say sun emits light. So you say when you see light in the morning, you say, oh, the sun is here. You call the light as sun. There's nothing wrong when you say that, right? The sun is here. But actually sun is not just light. Sun is much more than light. But in usage you can say sun is light. Like that you can say Balaram is Paramatma. But Balaram is not just Paramatma. He's a lot more than Paramatma.
Yeah. Okay. That's it.
Yeah. So let me just finish this purport.
That was very good explanation, Mataji.
Thank you. So
because of Mataji's good questions.
Yes. Owing to a gross material conception of things, most men in this age cannot imagine how such a small particle can become both so great and so small. We cannot understand this because gross, right? We are gross material conception. So men look at the soul proper as wonderful, either by constitution or by description. Illusioned by the material energy, people are so engrossed in subject matters for sense gratification that they have very little time to understand the question of self-understanding. Self-understanding or self-realization. Who am I? Right? They don't even get time to question this, which is the most important question. even though it is a fact that without this self-understanding, all activities result in ultimate defeat in the struggle for existence, right? Whatever you do, whatever you may achieve in this life, ultimately you have to give everything up and die, right? And you may think that, oh, but my name, my glory will remain. You are not even there to enjoy your glory. What is it that you're achieving by all this? So all your wonderful, great achievements, activities, and all your struggles, right? For what? It's so this is because of lack of knowledge, right? Perhaps they have no idea that one must think of the soul, right? And thus make a solution to the material miseries. So also, like especially in Kali Yuga, Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagyahi Upadrutaha. So there Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya, right? Manda Bhagya. Manda Bhagya means they're very unfortunate. They don't get the right association. They don't get the right association. Even if they are intelligent, Manda means lazy. Manda, Sumanda Mati means a very less intelligent. They don't think of, uh, spiritual topics. Even if they have intelligence, they use it for material advancement. Less intelligent. And those people who are interested in spiritual topics, they have some intelligence. They don't get the right association. They get cheaters, right? Like the teachers and so on and so forth. What are they teaching? Is anyone discussing about the soul? So unfortunate, right? Unfortunate. But otherwise, actually, this is in the Vedic society, even so-called illiterate person, Shudra, he also knows that, he's a soul, and after this life, he is responsible for his activities. Even, an uneducated person knows all this in the Vedic society. That's why in the Vedic society, people are very advanced. Okay, I'll just finish. Some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures in good association, but sometimes owing to ignorance, they are misguided by acceptance of the super soul and the atomic soul as one without distinction of magnitude. So this is another problem, right? This is also misguided. You get the intelligence, you take to the spiritual path, but then you think, I am that, right? Soham, I am that supreme. Because they think the super soul and individual soul are the same. It is very difficult to find a man who perfectly understands the position of the super soul, the atomic soul, their respective functions and relationships, and all other major and minor details. It's very, very rare. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. Right? Out of many, many, many thousands of human beings, one person may be even interested in spiritual knowledge. It's very rare. Yatatamapi siddhanam kaschin Mam Vetti Tattvata. And of many, many, many thousands of people who have actually perfected, that means they understood that they're not this body, they're spirit soul. But for them to understand Krishna is extremely rare. And it is still more difficult to find a man who has actually derived full benefit from the knowledge of the soul. Right? First, to understand the soul itself is rare because they have all these misconceptions. And then after understanding the soul, to actually benefit from that, right? It's one thing to understand, to get that knowledge, but to actually apply it, it's extremely rare. And who is able to describe the position of the soul in different aspects? But if somehow or other one is able to understand the subject matter of the soul, then one's life is successful. The easiest process for understanding the subject matter of self, however, is to accept the statements of the Bhagavad Gita spoken by the greatest authority, Lord Krishna, without being deviated by other theories. Right? That's why Bhagavad Gita as it is. Take the message that Krishna is giving as it is. Then greatest benefit is done. But it also requires a great deal of penance and sacrifice. Yeah, it's not simply by academic knowledge you'll understand. You won't understand. It also requires a great deal of penance and sacrifice, either in this life or in the previous ones, before one is able to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. After many, many lifetimes, right? Even after getting the knowledge about the soul, after many, many, many lifetimes, one begins to worship Krishna. Jnanavan mam prapadyate. Vasudevah sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. Sudurlabha, extremely rare to find a person who understands that everything is Vasudeva. It's very rare to find such a person. Such a person is a Mahatma and is very rare. So, it also requires a great deal of penance and sacrifice, either in this life or in the previous ones, before one is able to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna can, however, be known as such by the causeless mercy of the pure devotee and by no other way. That's why, Yasya Prasadad Bhagavat Prasad, right? By the mercy of a pure devotee, you get the mercy of Krishna. And only by the mercy of Krishna can you understand Krishna. And the way to get Krishna's mercy is through the mercy of a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada's Leela Amrita. Howard remembers his own spiritual seeking as reading books on Eastern philosophy. Okay, so these are the people who are coming to visit Srila Prabhupada in 26 2nd Avenue. And so Howard is one of them. So the other day you were asking, I agree with Prabhu. Howard remembers his own spiritual seeking as reading books on Eastern philosophy and religion, burning lots of candles and incense, and taking ganja and peyote and LSD as aids to meditation. This was the hippie counterculture, right? They would take drugs for meditation and for spiritual advancement. Of course, that doesn't happen, but that's what they thought. Actually, it was more intoxication than meditation. Meditation was a euphemism that somehow connected our highs with our readings. Keith is Kirtanananda Maharaj later on. Keith, 29, the son of a Southern Baptist minister, was a PhD candidate in history at Columbia University. He was preparing his thesis on the rise of revivalism in the southern United States. Dressed in old denim cutoffs, sandals, and t-shirt, he was something of a guru among the Mott Street coterie. Wally was in his 30s, shabbily dressed, bearded, intellectual, and well-read in Buddhist literature. He had been a radio engineer in the army, and like his roommates was unemployed. He was reading Alan Watts, Hermann Hesse, and others talking about spiritual enlightenment and taking LSD. In India, Howard and Keith had visited Hardwar, Rishikesh, Benares, and other holy cities, experiencing Indian temples, hashish, and dysentery. Dysentery means loose stools, diarrhea. One evening in Calcutta, they had come upon a group of sadhus chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and playing hand cymbals. For Howard and Keith, as for many Westerners, the essence of Indian philosophy was Shankara's doctrine of impersonal oneness. Everything is false except the one impersonal spirit. They had bought books that told them whatever way you express your faith, that way is a valid spiritual path. Right? Jatomat tatobat. Now the three roommates, Howard, Keith, and Wally, began to mix various philosophies into a hodgepodge of their own. Howard would mix in a little Whitman, Emerson, Thoreau, or Blake. Keith would cite biblical references, and Wally would add a bit of Buddhist wisdom, and they all kept up on Timothy Leary, Thomas A. Kempis, and many others, the whole mixture being subject to a total re-evaluation whenever one of the group experienced a new cosmic insight through LSD. It's a lot of speculation, basically. This was the group that Howard returned to that day in July. Excitedly, he told them about the Swami, how he looked, and what he had said. Howard told how, after they had stood and talked together, the Swami had mentioned his place nearby on 2nd Avenue, where he was planning to hold some classes. Howard, I walked around the corner with him. He pointed out a small storefront building between 1st and 2nd Streets, next door to a mobile filling station. It had been a curiosity shop, and someone had painted the words "Matchless Gifts" over the window. At that time, I didn't realize how prophetic those words were. This is a good area. This is a good area? He asked me. I told him that I thought it was. I had no idea what he was going to offer at his classes, but I knew that all my friends would be glad that an Indian Swami was moving into the neighborhood. So we'll stop there. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for joining this morning. All of you have a wonderful day in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.